Today we are ranking just about every single YouTube content creator, whatever you want to call it, whether they stream, have a channel, have a podcast, whatever it is, if they make content, we are going to be ranking them today. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels and welcome back to another tier list video. Guys, obviously, this isn't nearly every single content creator that revolves around MMA. Honestly, these are all of the creators that I watch regularly. So, we're making a tier list of them, of course. It is very important to note that because I don't know how this is going to go, but if somebody's going to end up at the bottom of C tier, because they are in last place, does not mean they are a bad channel. I don't like them. Every single creator that you see here, I watch regularly. I watch day to day. I'm one of those people who always have YouTube on the background. I watch YouTube at work. I listen to YouTube in the car, so I always have something on. So all of these creators, or at least the vast majority of them, are part of my regular day, and we're going to be ranking them all today. So like I said, somebody's going to end up in last place. People are going to end up close to last place. I still love their content. That's very, very important to know. With that being said, though, guys, we are going to be ranking them. And last thing, sorry, I know it's a little bit of a long intro. I'm not ranking them based on like the level of their content. I'm ranking them based on how much I enjoy them personally. I'd love to know what you guys think down below afterwards. Apologies for the long intro. Let's get started with MMA fighting on, is it MSBN? Regardless, it's Ariel Helwani's show. So here's the thing. I actually was on the Ariel Helwani I wasn't on a hate train, but I understood who Ariel Helwani was, like the type of guy that he is, long before it was cool, okay? I'm very proud of that. Called that out a long time ago. I was always a big fan back in the day of Nick Diaz and Rampage Jackson. They started calling it out back in the day, and I was like, okay, yeah, you know what? This Ariel guy, he can be a little bit of a weasel sometimes, but I cannot help but enjoy his interviews. His interview style is great. The structure's great. I love the Q&A. It's so weird. It's one of those things where you separate the art from the artist, okay? Ariel Helwani's production's great. Ariel Helwani's show's great. I love the vast majority of his interviews. I think he's fantastic at what he does. He does poke the bear on purpose and try to stir things up. I don't like that. I don't like a lot of dirty tactics he uses for, you know, all the controversy that he's gotten himself in, right? But for content-wise, I still listen to Ariel Helwani. I still really like his videos, honestly, and I know that's a little bit unpopular to say now. I still listen to Ariel Helwani. I'm going to actually... Oh, this is tough because I really like all these channels, okay? So a lot of these would honestly be in the A and S tier, but I got to compare them all to each other. I might change this around a little bit, but I'm going to be putting Ariel Helwani in the B tier for now. Corey Sandhagen. Now, Corey Sandhagen is somebody on this list that I don't listen to nearly as much as everybody else, but when I do, I really enjoy his content. His breakdowns are exactly as if you think. Like, if you don't watch Corey Sandhagen, you could imagine how good he is at breaking down fights, breaking down techniques. I actually love what Corey Sandhagen does, but at the end of the day, I don't watch him nearly as much as these other creators over here, so I'm going to put Corey Sandhagen over in the C tier. The Weasel's an interesting one, because the Weasel has always had the same kind of videos, right? I've been a fan of the Weasel since I don't know when he started YouTube, but I can't even remember. Like, it's been years and years at this point that I've been watching the Weasel. He's one of the OGs in the game, and I still to this day enjoy his content. The Weasel makes the best at like my favorite videos of his, and I'm sure that if you guys watch the Weasel as well, you'd like a lot of his videos too. It's who actually won, breaking down all the fights. I like it a lot, but at the end of the day, this is tough, man. I'm already 3 people in over here, okay? I'm 3 people in over here, and I'm already having a little bit of a tough time. I'm actually going to put the Weasel in the C tier. I'm trying to think on how I'm going to gauge the rest of these. Now, here's an interesting one, okay? Here's an interesting one. We have MMA Joey. Okay, I'm at a little bit of a crossroads with MMA Joey because when it comes to fighting, the guy knows what he's talking about. I particularly watch MMA Joey for I'm a big guy for live streams about MMA in the background, okay? I do it a little less nowadays because he's kind of evolving into his own opinions, you know, if you know what I'm kind of saying over here. I'm trying to be a little bit YouTube friendly, but I don't know if I can really dance around that. I really enjoy his fight breakdowns, his fight prediction videos, his post-fight recaps, all of that stuff. But if he talks about literally anything else, it's he somehow finds a way to just like, oh, I'm making a tier list video. Oh my god, Colby Covington and Sean Strickland fans, those guys hate tier lists because they're such hateful people. And he'll end up like shifting the conversation to that somehow. And then even if you're in a live chat, it's so funny because even if you're in a live chat, people will say, okay, why don't you just like admit that you just hate people over on that side of the aisle, right? And I don't care personally. I don't care. What bothers me is it's like It's almost a little bit insulting to my intelligence that this guy will look you dead in the eyes to the camera and go, "Oh no, I don't even know anything about politics. I don't know anything about that." And I don't care. I don't care at all. I'm here to listen to him talk about MMA, but it's like, it's a little insulting in that sense. You know what I mean? So I watch his content when it comes to breaking down fights. Other than that, I kind of skip it. So I'm going to have to put MMA Joy down into the C tier over here, okay? Because, yeah, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying with that. But moving on to somebody on the complete opposite of the spectrum, somebody who I can listen to talk about literally anything, is Demetrious Johnson. I was a fan of Mighty Mouse before it was cool, before it was in one championship. I'm glad he started a podcast. I really like how his content's been evolving, even back in the, like, when he was really, I know he's not going away from that content at all. I'm just saying, like, even just Mighty Gaming, Mighty, whatever he's doing, I'm here for Demetrious Johnson. His technical breakdowns are fantastic. I love listening to him, no matter what he's talking about MMA, no matter if it's a live stream, whatever. Demetrious Johnson is a great channel. I'm throwing him in the A tier. Moving on, we have Bo Nickel. Now, I am not a Bo Nickel hater like a lot of people are, but at the end of the day, I don't think Bo Nickel's channel really stacks up to anything else that we're going to be talking about. So, unfortunately, I'm going to be putting Bo Nickel. Ooh, like, it's tough because I feel bad, like, oh my god, these guys are fighting for last place, but at the end of the day, I watch all of their content, right? So, I'm going to put Bo Nickel right there. Jesse on Fire is a little bit more of the same. I actually used to watch a lot of Jesse on Fire, and no disrespect to Jesse on Fire at all, but I've kind of faded out from his content just a little bit. I listen to it every once in a while, maybe like for a long car ride or something, but there are topics that he starts to upload about, topics that he decides to touch on instead of MMA that I'm just not particularly into, and that's not, again, nothing against him. It's just, it's not necessarily filling my interests at all. So I'm going to also put Jesse on Fire over in the C tier. Now, Artem MMA. I believe Artem MMA is one of the most underrated channels when it comes to picks and predictions, because if you guys follow this channel, you would know that I am a big fan of like every organization that I can. I have been recently diving into PFL, but I watch LFA, One Championship, Octagon, Cage Warriors, UFC, you name it, I probably watch it. And what I love about Artem MMA is he doesn't just talk about UFC. This guy's breaking down other fight cards, and I absolutely love that. That is a niche in YouTube that not a lot of people are talking about, and Artem is very good at his predictions. He knows a lot what he's talking about, and I'm actually going to put Artem MMA over in the S tier. Artem doesn't have a lot of subscribers compared to quite a few people that we're going to be talking about, but of course, like, it's so hard. That's like me saying, like, hey, I don't have a lot of subscribers compared to Alexander Volkanovski. Like, obviously, I'm not famous. But if you don't know Artem MMA, I highly suggest you go check out his content. Now, Keon Kimura. This one's tough. It's kind of like Jesse on Fire. I faded out from the content just a little bit because I like Keon. I followed his journey for a very long time, but I don't care that, like, it sounds so mean, man. It sounds so mean. I just don't care that he's a dishwasher now. You know, I don't care when he's uploading his life stuff. That's fine for the people who do enjoy it, but I love digesting MMA content for the most part, you know what I mean? And a lot of things that Keon has been uploading about, and I know he still talks about fights, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like Jesse on Fire, I've been fading out of his content a little bit, but Keon, I will always come back to. I always, every once in a while, just come and check out what he's doing. So I'm going to put Keon Kimura over in the C tier, just over Jesse on Fire over here. Now, the Schmo. This one is interesting because with the Schmo, sometimes you have a really good episode and sometimes I just don't care at all. It all depends who the guest is. And that's not the Schmo's fault, okay? That's not the Schmo's fault at all. It just depends who he's talking about. I will say, I haven't listened to it in a while, but from what I have seen for the Schmo's podcast, I think he does a really good job. This one's tough. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to move Corey Sandhagen up to B tier and put the Schmo at the top of C tier over here. Now, MMA Fortune Teller. I love watching this guy. Okay. Now, here's the tough part because I'm definitely putting MMA Fortune Teller in S tier. He talks about, like, he, again, is a MMA predictor on YouTube who clearly does tape study. He knows what he's talking about. He's been watching these guys for a long time. But what I really love about the MMA Fortune Teller is he is so clearly a fight fan. Like, while he's breaking down fights, he'll be talking about, I can't think of an example off the top of my head. Demetrious Johnson's on my screen. So I remember back in the day when Demetrious Johnson took on Ray Borg, and like what a performance that was. Like, I don't know. He'll talk about things that happened back in the day, and that's not even like that back in the day. You can just tell that this guy is a really, really solid fight fan, and he often references things where it's like, oh yeah, I do remember that. And he's not just in it. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to be in it for the picks, for the money, all that stuff. That's totally okay. But I think it's a little bit of a bonus when you're into it because you're a legitimate fight fan. And honestly, from this guy talking about like his parting words, everything, if you guys have watched the MMA Fortune Teller, he comes in with a good intro, he comes in with a good outro, and I think he has a pretty good gauge on life, man. I really like him as a person. Honestly, I know I don't know him, of course, but one of the reasons I was kind of brought to the MMA Fortune Teller is because there's a lot of values that I seem to share with the guy from what he appears to be online. So I just really like his content. It's very well structured. I love the long form that it's on, and I like the MMA Fortune Teller. And the more that I'm saying this, sorry, Art of MMA, I love you too, but I guess being in the S tier is awesome. I'm putting the MMA Fortune Teller in the S tier right now. Now, Nina Drama is kind of just like the Schmo, except I would say she's just a little bit better than the Schmo. Sometimes I like her episodes, sometimes she doesn't, but she does a really good job at getting fighters to kind of have a different side that's brought out. I find that very interesting sometimes. So I'm going to put Nina Drama down into the B tier. Now, the one everybody's probably been waiting for, the MMA Guru. Guys, I have to put the MMA Guru in S tier. I have to. I am so invested in MMA meme culture. I am so invested. Like, you got to understand, guys, I come from like the old trash talk MW2 days, and I feel like Guru and his community are kind of that breed. I will say, and it's important to note throughout this entire video, of course, some of these guys cover politics, like the MMA Guru, Joe Rogan we're going to be talking about, like Luke Thomas covers politics, even MMA Joey. It's important to note that I keep that as private as I can on my channels. I just ask that because people, like I say that, for example, I like the MMA Guru, he thinks one way, I just ask that you don't make that assumption about me. I keep that private. I just really like everybody's content over here, okay? So that's very, very important to note. Also, if you really want to get a gauge on things, you have a guy like the MMA Guru and a guy like the MMA Joey, polar opposites. I watch them both. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh my God, I'm one of those intellectuals, independents. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying I keep it private, okay? I just ask that you don't do that to me. Anyways, the MMA Guru, the breakdowns are awesome. And it's kind of like what I try to do on this channel, where we talk about everything. There could be a situation in MMA, or you can be breaking down fights. You can find it all there, but what really makes them stand out is the humor, the live streams, okay? The impressions. The impressions kill me. What I love about, I can sit back and watch MMA Guru impressions all day because they are actually like a little, like they are pretty accurate, and they're just compilations of like ridiculous stuff. I've sent some asking for them. There could be something like the one that I really like. There's one that I laugh at that I watched recently, actually talking about MMA Joey. It was about MMA Joey, where it's I don't know exactly what it said, but it was like impression of Ariel Helwani going skydiving, and then he finds out that MMA Joey is the guy carrying him and guiding him, but then they fall to the death because MMA Joey was guiding him to the death. And then MMA Guru sits there and does that exact impression, but it's not just doing that impression, it's accurate impression. So and then he sits back in his chair like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, I can't do it, of course, but I find that so funny. And you could like, they get really, really bad too. Like, I can't even repeat it for YouTube, but I find the edgy humor hilarious. I love his channel. I love the fight breakdowns. And it's important to note that I was also, and I've been involved in the MMA scene for a very long time, guys. I was also an MMA Guru fan before it was cool to be an MMA Guru fan. I remember, like, I used to work in the OR a long time ago, and I worked a lot of night shifts, so I'd pop in my headphones and just listen to YouTube while I worked, right? And one of these days, I don't remember what card it was, but I found the MMA Guru when he was in his shed, when it was far less than 10K subscribers, far less. And I was listening to him, and he's breaking down every single fight in the card, and it's like something that I love talking about because I've always loved watching every single piece of fights. This dude was a classic fight fan. Watched the early prelims. I resonated with him. Been watching every single one of his videos ever since. I'm not going to talk about MMA Guru. I don't think that a channel on here is honestly going to beat the MMA Guru. I really, really love his content. Let's continue on to Pound for Pound with Kamaru and Henry. So guys, if you don't know, I was actually a Kamaru Usman hater for basically the majority of his career. Found him cringe. Long story short, I actually made an entire video talking about the topic, and I started listening to Pound for Pound because I'm a fan of Henry Cejudo, and I was like, okay, Kamaru Usman knows that he's talking about MMA because I don't have to necessarily like the guy to watch his content, right? This turned me around on Kamaru Usman completely. I now like Kamaru Usman, and I realized that I was wrong for, I don't like all the reasons that I kind of thought he was cringe. I don't know. Maybe he changed his tune. Conversation for another time. I made a whole video talking about it, but Henry and Kamaru together are phenomenal. The guests they have on are great. Their podcast is great. When Kamaru does his solo stuff, same with Henry Cejudo. They're both great. I really enjoy the Pound for Pound with Kamaru and Henry. I'm putting them into the A tier in front of Mighty Mouse. Now, the Fighter and the Kid. Something that I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of the video is they don't always have to talk about MMA. For example, you see Joe Rogan down here. I'm talking about like when they talk about MMA, that's how I'm ranking them as a channel. So I understand the Fighter and the Kid doesn't always talk about MMA, but I don't hate Brendan Schaub like the world does. I like Brian Callen. I like them talking together. I've been listening to their podcast for a very long time. I don't listen to it every single time, but it's tough because I do like it when they do put on a show. I'm going to put them in the A tier. Low A tier, though. Running Mouth MMA. I really like Running Mouth MMA. It's a combination of like really hard entertainment with some solid picks and bets behind it. There's nothing else to say about that. They're fantastic at what they do. It's an entertaining show. It's an informative show. I really like Running Mouth MMA. I'm going to put it behind Ariel Helwani over here. Now, Michael Chandler, it's tough because I don't listen to Michael Chandler nearly as much as the rest of the content over here. I'm actually going to put Michael Chandler in between Jesse on Fire and Keon Kimura. Michael Bisping, kind of the same, to be honest with you. I listen to Michael Bisping on select videos that I'm interested in hearing his take on. And I actually don't know off the top of my head if the Believe You Me podcast is on Michael Bisping's channel or if that's another channel. That I don't listen to. I don't want to listen to Anthony Smith, to be honest with you. I don't need to listen to him being on paper the greatest fighter of all time. But I like Michael Bisping. I've been a fan of Michael Bisping. But at the end of the day, I don't watch his content as much as everybody else. So I'm going to put him just in front of... I'm going to put him in front... I'm going to put him in front of Bo Nickel too. I'm going to put Michael... Where did Michael Bisping just go? Why did he go back there? Anyways, we want picks. So... this is a little bit specific because I really, really, really enjoy Angelo's breakdowns from We Want Picks. I just enjoy him as a guy. I enjoy his content. I watch his fight food vlogs, excuse me. And I particularly love the live stream that he does with Jacob once a week. I think that's a very entertaining show. The way they kind of roast each other, the way they break down fights, the way they pick fights. It's kind of like a little bit like Running Mouth, like I was talking about, where it's an informative and also entertaining show. But I can also go to Angelo's breakdowns if I want to listen to something that's pretty much strictly informative. I really like that. There's a diverse set of content over there. I know they have Jacob's own stuff. They have Menti Bets over there, and absolutely nothing against them. I just particularly go for Angelo. I like Jacob in the live stream, but I watch a lot of Angelo's stuff. I'm going to put We Want Picks. I'm going to put We Want Picks just behind, again, Ariel Helwani over there. Now, James Lynch, you know what you're getting with James Lynch. Solid MMA content. It's just, I use James Lynch a lot, and I don't mean this as a bad thing at all. I swear to you, like I need you to understand this. When I say that I put something in the background, that's because I enjoy listening to it. James Lynch is a perfect background guy. I want to listen to somebody talk about MMA, a little bit similar to Luke Thomas. I like James Lynch, man. I'm going to put him at the bottom of B tier. MMA Betting Mastermind. I just enjoy following this guy and his betting journey. I like how honest he is. Made a video talking about him and actually Angelo from We Want Picks. I enjoy listening to MMA betting videos, prediction videos, and he's been having a little bit of a rough skid lately, but I really, really respect his honesty, so I've been following his journey. MMA Betting Mastermind, I listen to most of his videos, actually, but it doesn't stack up to these ones for me over here. I'm going to put MMA Betting Mastermind into the top of C tier. That's where I'm going to throw him. And again, it's very important to note, everybody, and I can't stress this enough, it's the last time I'll say this, Jesse on Fire, Michael Chandler, Keon Kimura, they're in last place. I still enjoy these channels a lot. They're part of my fairly daily routine, okay? Somebody has to go at the bottom. Anyways, let's continue on to Ronin MMA, a very underrated channel in my opinion. Awesome live streams. Conversations get pretty funny sometimes. I like his content as well for the most part. Some videos that I don't necessarily touch, but Ronin MMA is a solid channel. I'm going to also throw him into the C tier. I'm going to put him at the top of C tier for now. Now, Alexander Volkanovski. I am a huge fan of Alexander Volkanovski, have been for a very long time. I like him as a guy, like him as a fighter, and honestly, been watching his breakdowns ever since I started. You guys need to watch Alexander Volkanovski's breakdowns because he is one of the best predictors on YouTube, and not a lot of people talk about it. I love Alexander Volkanovski, been a big fan of him forever. I'm going to put him at the bottom of B tier. Now, here's one, Cage Side Convos. If you guys don't know Cage Side Convos, a little bit, I don't know exactly how many subscribers he has. I've been watching this guy on TikTok for a very long time, and then he transitioned over to YouTube and making a lot of commentary and tier list content. I love it. I love it. If there's anybody on this entire list right now that I would love to have a collab with one day, it would be Cage Side Combos. Make a tier list together. That would be awesome. I think he's funny. I think he's very entertaining. I think he's very informative. I love his tier list content. I love everything about what this guy does making content. I watch all of his videos. Cage Side Combos is... I'm putting him in the S tier behind Guru. If you guys haven't watched Cage Side Combos, I think he is fantastic. One of the greatest MMA content creators out there. You guys need to go check him out. Let's continue on. Daniel Cormier. A little bit like I was saying with Michael Bisping, I watch select videos from Daniel Cormier, but at the end of the day, I don't watch him nearly as much as any of these other creators. So I'm going to put Daniel Cormier actually, I'm going to put him in front at the top of C tier over here. Now, Chael Sonnen. I know a lot of people like to talk about Chael Sonnen just yapping about nothing. I personally like that. Chael Sonnen's been one of my favorite fighters. He probably is my favorite fighter of all time. That bounces around between guys like Carlos Conta and Glover Teixeira, but I'm a big fan of Chael. I'll listen to Chael talk. I love hearing Chael's opinion on things. I love listening to him stir the pot. I don't hate the Chael Sonnen channel like some people like to do. Chael Sonnen is going to go in the A tier for me, but I'm going to put him at the bottom. No, I'm not. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. I'm going to put him behind Demetrius Johnson over here. Now, Bedtime MMA. Guys, I like Bedtime MMA for a lot of the same reasons why I like MMA Guru. Content's solid. The impressions are top tier. I love most videos that Bedtime MMA makes, and I'm so happy to see that Bedtime is finally... I've been watching Bedtime MMA for a very long time. I'm very happy to see that he's finally getting the traction that he so deserves, and it's honestly, guys, most of the things that I repeat about the Guru, I can repeat about Bedtime MMA, and I know some people do talk about, like, people trying to copy the Guru. I don't care. It's fantastic content. It's unique enough for me. I like it a lot. Bedtime MMA is an A tier channel. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier, though. He's very, very solid channel. Now, Money Moicano. I've actually recently, out of all the channels here, I've started watching Money Moicano a little bit more. He's like a little bit new to my rotation, let's say. I'm a fairly new fan of Money Moicano, but I've been really liking his content. At the end of the day, though, I haven't watched him enough to really stack up to anybody else. I'm going to throw Money Moicano just behind Ronin MMA over here. Excuse me. I don't know if my mic caught that. I'm sorry. Now, Dan Hardy. Really enjoys breakdowns. It's about as technical as it could get. I love Dan Hardy's, oh my God, why am I forgetting the name of that show? Inside the Octagon? I watched it before every single pay-per-view, man. I watched it before every single one. And the name is slipping my mind right now. That show that he had with the whiteboard. And the screen. Why am I having a blank on that right now? I hope you guys, was it Inside the Octagon? Oh my God, I don't know. Anyways, I've been a big fan of Dan Hardy for a long time. Love his technical breakdowns. I love him as a commentator. And I love his YouTube channel. I think it's great. Dan Hardy is going to go into the A tier. I'm going to put him in front of Alexander Volkanovski. That's going to put him. Now, another little bit of an underrated channel is Hop Row MMA. Makes some very solid MMA content, man. Honestly, I don't want to compare it too much to Bedtime or Lucas Tracy, but it's kind of like the same style of videos over here, but his content's, it can be informative. It can be entertaining. I'm here for the vast majority of Hop Row MMA's videos. Anyways, I'm going to actually throw him into the bottom of the A tier. Now, MMA Experts. I'm so happy, again, that MMA Experts is getting traction that it deserves. Because AJ over there has been putting in work for a long time. I've been an OG fan, AJ. I've been watching the channel since well before 10K. Same with Guru. The Guru, I was a fan before 10K. Same with MMA Experts. The grind is real. I'm so happy that he's been really having the success that he so well deserves. I love his predictions. I love his live chats. I always have AJ on somewhere. I love listening to no matter what he's talking about. I'm here for it. I like him as a guy. Big fan of the channel. I'm going to be putting MMA Experts. I'm going to be putting him into the A tier, actually. I'm going to be putting him... This is tough. I'm actually going to be putting MMA Experts, guys, in front of Dan Hardy. I like that. I think it's a great channel. Amazing channel. Now, the Jackson podcast. A little bit newer to my rotation. I've been a fan of Rampage for a long time. And actually, for some of the fighters that they've had on, the podcast is very, very good. Informative, entertaining. I feel like I've said that a lot about a lot of channels, but honestly, man, it's fantastic. I love the Jackson podcast. I love Rampage Jackson. I'm going to put it at I'm going to put him right in behind Ariel Helwani's show over here. It's funny, Ariel and Jackson together. Now, Jamal Hill, I watch select videos on. Depends on the day. If I want to hear Jamal Hill's take on something, I'll listen to it. I also don't hate Jamal Hill like a lot of people do. I am going to throw Jamal Hill. I'm going to put him in front of Nina Drama. I like Jamal Hill. Lucas Tracy MMA. Guys, Lucas Tracy is kind of changing the content game a little bit. I don't know where... I know there's some allegations online that he's copying the Guru's content. I don't think that's the case. I think he's very innovative with his content. Sure, he might copy some things. Maybe I don't know about that. But Lucas Tracy MMA, I watch pretty much every single one of his videos, whether it's a tier list, whether it's a top 10 video, whether it's just a fight announcement that he wants to talk about. A lot of the reasons why I love the MMA Guru is the same kind of reasons why I love Lucas Tracy, except Lucas Tracy is oftentimes a little bit more serious. I don't want to say it's just like purely informative content, don't get me wrong. It's an all-around MMA channel. I take huge inspiration from Lucas Tracy. I want to be a channel just like him one day. I think he is fantastic at what he does. I watch most of his videos. Lucas Tracy MMA is going into the S tier. But where am I going to throw Lucas Tracy? I'm going to throw him... This is tough. It's so tough to rank these guys, man. It is so tough. I'm going to put him in front of the MMA fortune teller. That's where I'm going to put him. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. No, I'm putting the teller in front of Lucas Tracy. That's where it's going to go. That S tier is so tough, man. Now, Cameron Simon. Kind of the same deal. Daniel Cormier, Michael Bisping, one of those fighters that I just tune in to listen to every once in a while, but I will say he's a little bit step up to the content of like Daniel Cormier, so I'm going to put Cameron Simon actually at the top of C tier over here. Now, Kelvin Gastelum, channel I watch every once in a while. I've just been a big fan of Kelvin Gastelum as a fighter, as a person, but at the end of the day, I've never gotten too into his content at all. Hope he continues on the grind, man. I like Kelvin Gastelum, but unfortunately, I'm going to be putting him in front of behind Michael Bisping. That's where I'm going to be throwing him. Now, Max Holloway. Max Holloway has some really underrated, entertaining content. And it took me forever to remember his logo, by the way, because that's actually a solid logo, dude. That's a solid logo. That'd be fun, actually, to rank the logos of MMA YouTubers. That'd be cool, man. Maybe I can get into that. I want to get into a lot of tier list content, guys. I miss making tier list videos. So, Max Holloway. I'm going to put him at the top of C tier. Now, Bang Muay Thai. A little bit of a different tune when it comes to MMA content because Bang Muay Thai uploads like tutorials on combinations and all that. So I actually almost didn't include it, but at the end of the day, it's an MMA channel that I do watch, actually similar to Fight Tips, because it's also on the channel. I'll move Fight Tips over here now. I have been a big fan of Duane Ludwig for years. For years. I fell in love with his style. I was a big fan of TJ Dillashaw. One of the most disappointing moments, honestly, in my life is when I found out TJ Dillashaw was a cheater because he was such an inspiration to me. But I still watch Duane Ludwig's content. I love what he uploads. Very underrated channel. But I don't watch him nearly as often as these other guys, but it's not about how often I watch them, right? I'm going to put Bang Muay Thai at the top of C tier. That's where I'm going to put him. Now, Fight Tips, I like him for the same reasons as Bang Muay Thai, but I'm not a big fan of Shane like I am Duane Ludwig. Don't get me wrong, I love Shane. I love his content. I've been watching it for a very long time, but I don't go around saying I'm a giant Shane Frazen, man. You know what I mean? I hope that doesn't sound disrespectful. Anyways, I'm going to put Fight Tips, actually. Honestly, okay, it's not a bad thing to put him at the bottom. I'm putting him at the bottom. It's not a bad thing because at the end of the day, these are my favorite channels. I love watching all of these people, okay? I feel bad. Luke Thomas. Same deal with James Lynch. Just a background content creator that I like listening to every once in a while, except I like him a little bit less than James Lynch, excuse me. And I don't know. James Lynch is a little bit more entertaining. I'm going to put him at the top of C tier, Luke Thomas. Now, Helen Yee. She's kind of the same deal as Schmo. I'm going to put her with the Schmo, except a little bit of a step up with the Schmo. I guess the Sean Strickland interviews kind of boosted up a little bit. Now, why did I put DraftKings in here? Oh, Anakin Florian podcast. That threw me for a loop, by the way, because I've never noticed that they were just on the DraftKings channel. I'm a big fan. I love John Anik, but I have been a big fan of Kenny Florian for years, and I thought their content has always been fantastic. I have literally been listening to the Anakin Florian podcast since day one of their launch. I love their podcast. I like John Anik. Huge Kenny Florian fan. DraftKings is definitely going into the A tier. Where am I going to throw it, though? I'm going to actually throw them right in front of MMA Experts. So we're going to put them. Now, the Weighing In podcast. The big criticism of Weighing In is how biased they are towards Bellator fighters, how much they talk about Bellator, but I'm a big Bellator fan. I've been watching Bellator since I was a kid, man. So I like when they get into Bellator conversations. Plus, I like John McCarthy. Josh Thompson is a fighter that I've been a fan for a very long time. I feel like I've said that so many times on the channel, man. But I have been, man. I really, really love Josh Thompson as a fighter, as a person. Him coming with John McCarthy. It's a fantastic podcast. Weighing In is going into the S tier. Guys. I'm putting Weighing In behind Cage Side Convos. Weighing In is fantastic. Anyways, Joe Rogan Experience. You can't... I love listening to Joe Rogan talk about fights, and you can have any fighter on talking about fights. That's pretty much the gist of it. The conversations can go anywhere. That's the beauty of it. It's absolutely fantastic. The Joe Rogan Experience is absolutely going into the A tier, but I will say I'm going to put it at the bottom of my A tier, and man, my face cam's kind of messing it up. Give me 1 second, guys. I always hate when I have to resize these tier lists, man. But anyways, now we have MMA On Point. A little bit of a different kind of content towards the other fighters. I'm not going to lie. I used to watch MMA On Point a lot more than I do nowadays. I'm going to be throwing them right behind Keon Kimura, I think. That's where I'm going to put it. So, guys, that is my official tier list for all of my favorite MMA content creators. In the S tier, we have the MMA Guru, Cage Side Convos, weighing in the MMA Fortune Teller, Lucas Tracy MMA, and Artem MMA. Guys, I highly suggest you don't only check out the S tier, but you check out every single person that's on here. I would link them down below, but I'm going to be honest with you, I just don't want to, so I'm not going to do that. That's going to take me forever, because I don't even know how many things are in this tier list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to be linking all their channels, sorry. It's not hard to type in, man, but all of these content creators are fantastic. They get me through the workday. They get me through the day. I always have it in the background, whether I'm like taking my dog out, doing the dishes, working on some YouTube videos. I usually have one of these channels on some backgrounds, and I love listening to every single one of them. They all provide value. Thank you very, very much for watching the video. Let me know what you think about the tier list down below. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Check out the video on screen right now. We have 2 more tier lists for you to check from, so check out one of those. I'll see you there, guys. Take care.